Hello to everyone who's watching us from different part of the world. Welcome to this session of Golden Mind Session. As people say, regardless of which side each of us is in, one thing cannot be denied. Artificial intelligence is already shaping the job marketing as well as education. But what factors have made artificial intelligence so prominent? And what are the risks and the benefits of it? These are some of the questions that so many citizens around the world have been asking lately. So to answer this question, today we have the privilege to talk to Dr. Jassim, who's going to enlighten our minds about this topic, about this question, and tell us a little bit about what can be expected from this new technology in the coming years. Dr. Jassim is president of Artificial Intelligence Society and has been leading so many companies over the years. So stay tuned and just tell us what you think about this chat. Just put your comment below so we can have the opportunity of having those questions answered by Dr. Jassim as soon as possible. Hello, Dr. Jassim.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing okay. What about you, daughter? It's a pleasure to have you here.
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. I'm very honored to be able to speak with you, sir.
So all pleasure is mine.
So
it's good afternoon or evening, wherever the audience is. Today I'll try to speak a little bit about artificial intelligence, and maybe in these slides I'll try to link it to the cybersecurity because it's so wide that we don't want to diversify it. Artificial intelligence has many branches of it. I mean, we will not go through all, but let me give you a little bit background of what is artificial intelligence. What's its history? You know, it's important to know what are the pillars of artificial intelligence. So basically, it's mimicking us as a human, and that's our behavior. Now, what is humans? You know, behaviors, if we list them down, are our memories, the way we react to situations, the behaviors, the sense of analysis, and then forecasting what could happen in the future if we take certain actions, and then, of course, the reaction to situations. So that's exactly, or in summary, what artificial intelligence does. So it mimics human beings' behaviors, action, forecasting, and reactions to our surrounding. Now, why artificial intelligence is believed to be more challenging to the human and superseding humans is because it has capabilities that human does not. It can memorize faster data and more historical data that it can analyze, it can react to, it can forecast and predict, and then action based on those. So it's more consistent and it's much faster, it's more efficient, it's wider historical data that it can react to, and of course we'll come to how these data are generated over a period of time and how, you know, the newer parts of artificials like ChatGPT and others are reacting to it. So now when all this started, there is a different views because artificial intelligence basically consists of three pillars. One is the technology. I mean, the technology is, believe it or not, it's not an important part of AI. It's been there for a long time, the storage, the cloud, the processing. Of course, the machines are important to how they process it. But there are two other important elements that sits in the heart of it. One is the data, you know, the data that are important to the existence of artificial intelligence. Without the data, without background of data, we will not be able to react. I mean, we can see the bottom of the page. That's by 2026, we will have 19.2 zettabytes of data. And, zettabytes of data means 21 zeros in front of 19.2. Imagine the massive amount of data that we will have to react to. These are the part of the big data that are structured, unstructured. And what makes it even probably larger in the years to come is the data is not going to be only the text that we had in the past. It's not just electronic data. It's not the conversion of papers into electronics. And it's not anymore of audio. It's the videos, the images that are coming. I mean, with the generative AI that will come again to it, vast amount of videos that we are storing. And not only that, that we are generating. We are taking pictures and converting them into videos through AI. And this will massively increase the number of storages that we require for data, and we'll have more data to handle. Of course, it has its advantage and disadvantages. Another part of it that we could really count on is the algorithms. Of course, the reaction, the learning curve that we do, we build models in AI and we train the data, and then we let AI react to the data that is available. So that learning curve and the autonomous decisions and the predictions, that all comes from the algorithms. The algorithms decide what are the next steps and how to react and how to generate other data. Now, of course, the AI in the modern world was founded by Professor John McCarthy in 1956 in the US. But again, he didn't have enough probably processing power. The computing edge was very slow. It was not helping his theories. And that's why it took several years to actually come to an existence. And this is when Japanese went to the expo and produced the first robot, and IBM Watson created the first challenge to Gary Kasparov, the chess player, to beat it, and a few other things. But as an Arab, probably I would like to pass something here. What is the history of algorithms? The algorithms hasn't changed for centuries. And I don't know if you know this or not, but there was a gentleman, a scientist in the Arab world in 782 by the name of Muhammad al-Khwarizmi. That's why in Arabic we call it Khwarizmiyat, and in English it was translated to algorithms. He discovered algorithms. And imagine, 1,300 years ago. Of course, he didn't know it.
It's been a while.
AI, but that's the part of it. Whatever he discovered, all the equations is the same as what we use today. So that's the basis of AI, if I may. But many people don't realize what is the depth and the history of that. And then today, of course, how the AI is generated, and we put the different algorithms is the root of that. Of course, AI has different branches, and what we call them machine learning and deep learning. The machine learning is all the type of AI, of the conversational. Deep learning, it goes to the neural networks and the NLPs, and it bases it on the conversation and understanding of the human. And recently, part of the deep learning, it's the discovery of generative AI. And what is generative AI? I will explain it and what are the branches. But the deep learning, the way it works, the algorithms, it differs from machine learning, that it takes a step at a time. So you have an input and output, and it gets to a stage, and it provides a reward, like a token of reward, to the success of that process. And those processes have failed, it will drop them and it will go to the next one. And again, it compares the input and output like a human. When you get a reward in the school or in your life, you move to the next step. So that's how deep learning in a simple way works. So generative AI, it has come, it's been there for a while, but last November when ChatGPT, and it started with 3.5, and now 4, came into the surface and it started generating data. So it wasn't just taking the data and putting the algorithms or going on search engines such as Google, Bing, and others and putting the data and extracting the data, which you would probably, if you put Sergio, maybe you will get 10,000 results, but which one of them do I need? And do I go through all of them to find what is the exactly? So generative AI started the conversational chatting between the machine and human and providing more specifics. So it will, you put the sentences of what you require, and it will provide you with sentences based on the specs that you need. So it's more of writing for you an essay of your requirements. Of course, that goes to a different parts. You could take the essay and then the generative AI and then put it into another tool. It could be DAL-E, and it will convert that into the images. So I'm assuming Jassim is from these countries and these are the pictures. So it will show me how he will, you know, probably conduct presentations. So that essay will come with an image and it will give me some options, and then I can put it into the video. So with a few steps, we are creating a live video, whether it's an avatar or generating from the real images, a presentation that is created by ChatGPT, putting into the different tools, and it becomes a live session. So next time you don't need me, you need maybe that kind of process to do it. So that's part of OpenAI as being the pioneers in that. But of course, Bard, Google soon followed them with their own version. And they try to compete because they know the search engine of Google will no longer be viable. It will disappear if they do not come. So Bard has developed rapidly. They have more flexibility, maybe even commercially. But still, there are advantages and disadvantages of each. But there are many other ones. Microsoft, they created their own things, and even they went to the office to try to write emails for you through what they call it Copilot, which is still under beta tests. So because they know sooner or later, if they don't, somebody else will create emails. It will write for you an Excel sheet summary or other office appliances that they have. So that becomes a part of competition. And DAL-E and a few other ones, they create images for you. And these are called family of generative AI. And then things you have like a mid-palm. Palm goes to the language part, but med stands for medical, where it will be also generating specific answers for you in terms of medical consultancy. And there are different generative AI for different purposes. Today, there are so many that you can benefit from. And that will become now an eye-opener. Of course, we were talking about it 7 years ago, but on how useful it is and how it's threatening the jobs in future, that I'll leave if we have time to talk about it later. So one area that I wanted to talk today about is the security part. I mean, there are many concerns because, you know, until now, the security attacks, the hacking on your network, on your computers, on your mobile, it's been a work of what we call hackers. And hackers are nothing but electronic or cyber criminals. They go into the red zones and react. And these are IT professionals who convert into criminals to make more financial rewards. Now that equation has changed. It has changed even before generative AI, chatbots and other families, because the attacks started being trained through artificial intelligence. So you train you train your model, and it will read the type of the data that is generated on the network. So you look at the peaks and on the fluctuations of the data, on the historical data, on the live data. So you continuously follow your networks, your targeted networks, activities, and it will start predicting. You remember at the beginning we talked about analytics and prediction. So it will start predicting and generating ideas and targets throughout its journey. It could put a phishing apart. It could put a malware in your network to communicate even more effectively with the AI, and it will be an internal spy until a right time comes and the attacks is generated and happens. This happened in the US government's, the federal agencies' attacks several months ago, where nobody even recognized who was the source of those attacks, because it wasn't a human. It was so much faster, more efficient, where the human on the other side, the cyber security professionals, are no match. There are no match to the efficiency of AI when it tries to attack. So I'll come to the GPTs, but now, can possibly a human continue defending in cybersecurity, for instance? And there are many other areas, but I'm just giving this example to prompt others. Can it start defending its network against such a magnificent and capable enemy with the latest in terms of predictions and in terms of attacks? Now, many who have over the years produced cybersecurity tools find their solutions are ineffective anymore. So this is where now the AI is coming into picture. So AI, to defend your network, you cannot resist and you cannot fight an AI or machine learning attack through human being. So on the opposite side, you need an AI to do that. And now this is the future of cybersecurity defense. Producing AI, and of course, it's not only for AI attacks, but even for human attacks, where it will have superiority. So we're building algorithms, and this is something that I'm speaking as with an experience, because this is something that's happening in my lab. Defense with the algorithms to the cyber security attacks. As it reads our patterns of the network, we also look at the suspicious flow of data or the IPs on the network, and you start making challenging questions through generative AI. It will send questions and it will test the water and see how serious those attacks are. And it will also monitor the networks and keep updating itself by the latest, for instance, patches that is required on your network. So that it is very important to know that also AI here has two roles to play. One is, of course, to protect the network in place of a human or the traditional equipment, and it keeps updating itself. But also, it has to update itself to protect the machine learning codes against the attacks. If you're talking about defending your network, that's what it does. But what about if you go into the machine learning algorithms? I mean, this is even more serious, because not only you can penetrate the network, you can generate other attacks using that network without you knowing. I mean, you could be sitting there and you have an API with another network, so it is a friendly environment. But when the AI sits on your network and pretends that the flow of data is coming from a friendly network or the API, that even makes it more harmful. So it has to continuously update itself. It has to regenerate itself. It's like a human trying to train itself, without having a data. So imagine how complex and difficult it is. So you try to sitting there, put all the software updates and patches on there, but also you have to patch yourself and you update yourself and learn on what is happening. So that's the complexity of what's happening. The ChatGPT also is not making it easier for everyone. Now, until recently, the people who were working on the cybersecurity attacks or even building AI models to attack networks was at least a technology professional or an AI or data scientist. But with ChatGPT, even a layman, of course, you cannot do it straightforward. It requires certain backways. But you can get a code written for you by ChatGPT to attack another network. Imagine, so anybody thinks and say, well, I want to make today money or I want to harm a certain environment. You could go in one of the generative AI and it will help you to generate it. And all you have to do is just to put certain IP addresses around it and you'll be able to penetrate many networks. So that's even makes it challenging. Of course, it helps in some parts, but it could also learn from the networks. And, because you have different tools in generative AI, as I said, you could learn some of the phishing email skills. And then you ask a generative AI, well, those ones, can you regenerate them for me to be able to create certain attacks? And it will obviously help you with some of those. I mean, of course, there are many malicious code that you can do, but also it can help you on the other side. I said the threatening part of it, but also it can help you how to be on the defensive side. So it will automatically block the sites if it feels threats that are coming, and if it feels that the conversation is being led to another attack. So that's a part of it. And it will be predicting ransomwares, because the ransomware, once it happens, unlike the other attacks that you can create a solution, your entire network is frozen. So you can do nothing about it until you either rebuild all your environment from the scratch, or you have to pay the ransom. So the prediction of the ransomware before happening is very important. And this is where AI is playing an important role. And as I say, it starts with challenging the attackers with questions. These are new questions. And these are not direct questions that AI will do. And it will act as an agent asking questions, but behind it is certain other steps that it can do so. So it also very helpful in fraud detection. Most of the frauds that are happening in the financial world specifically are being tackled post the event, and it's too late for people to return their money. And sometimes it takes months to be able to track them where it is too late and too little, or many of the employees wasting their time in the banking industry to be able to work on the frauds. And then most of them, after a few months, they either false alarms or the deal has been done and you lost the financials on that. So the fraud detection is happening by AI, and again, it plays the same role by predicting when the fraud is happening well in advance.
Mm.
It really has shown in the financial industry specifically, or in other where they deal with criminals, it has rationally reduced it. Now, this was my talk about probably one topic of AI and explaining what it is. If you allow me, I will maybe stop sharing the screen and so you can ask questions. Sergio.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jassim, for this explanation, for this so brilliant presentation. We just have a couple of questions here. We actually know that there are chatbots that are software that stimulate a conversation with human. And we are here wondering, should we fear artificial intelligence? Is the first question.
Many people would pamper a human and tell them, no, don't worry about it. You know, as jobs go, there will be many new jobs coming, or same amount of jobs, or there are no threats, or it will not do anything more than a human does. But I tell you, no, you should fear it, because really it's going and taking many jobs away.
Yes.
And that's why we invest on AI, because there is no point on investing on something that you have already human being placed in that job.
Yes, but what are the impacts and the influence of the new technologies, talking specifically to artificial intelligence on education? Because we've realized that many students have been using these softwares to produce their homework, etc. How can we identify those jobs that are done by artificial intelligence? How can we face this kind of challenge in the educational system?
And the education especially is a good question, Sergio. It's and I'll tell you what I envisage in future happening, and there are parts of the world that it happens, is we will see today, if you compare to the environment in the education, is you have teachers who are, apart from the period that we had in the COVID, you have a direct teaching to the students. The future of education will be where we create virtual teachers or virtual instructors, where we will have one virtual teacher to one student. And that will start from early ages until they go to the university. Because if I have, you know, a child at age of 5, and we keep building a data around that child, from his social life to educational, to the talents that he has, to the difficulties, to the challenges, to the behavior, it will, that virtual teacher will stay continuously with the child, and it will put curriculums for him or her over the period of 12 years and maybe 16 years until the university. So it'll be a one-on-one teaching, and it will not be even during the school time. It will be maybe at nights when the child needs to have sessions, or during the other day, and it will predict and recommend to the children what are the topics and subjects they have to take forward.
But do you think that we have, do you think there are some specific benefits from GPT when you look to, when you analyze GPT in the educational system? What are the benefits of it? If you had to mention some.
The ChatGPT you're talking about?
Yes,
right?
I'm talking about ChatGPT in particular, yes.
Yeah, look, again, I will not say ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is one of many.
One of many, yes.
Yes, so yes. I like to call them generative AI.
Yes.
GAI, this is the scientific name for all the tools that come, because some of them may be more specific to education than even ChatGPT, but of course that's a common name given to it. See, again, continuing from there, you cannot avoid children using generative AI in their education. Now, in the past, for instance, if you go for a degree, the university send your thesis to a system called Turnitin. The Turnitin will look at your thesis, it's maybe 15,000, 20,000 words, and it says, look, you have taken so many percent of it from Google. So that's plagiarism or cheating. So they said, okay, if you've taken anything more than 8% from Google, we fail you.
Yeah.
Now, through generative AI, we can create the entire thesis and we can send it to another generative AI to reassemble it with more natural words, and it puts for you the entire references. So you can do your thesis instead of doing it in 6 months time, you can do it probably in 2 days time, and the entire thing is not your work. It's generated by AI. So, you know, that's the challenge to universities, to teaching institutes to face generative AI performing the tasks of the students, whether it's from the thesis or the exams or homeworks. And the students are very quick to learn those tricks.
Yes, but what are the challenges if you had to analyze the small, medium, and large company looking to the business? What do you think are the challenge that so many employees have right now? Because we've seen many people losing their job because of artificial intelligence. How can we face this new area of digitalization, this new technology, looking to the business context?
Yeah. Look, today to introduce artificial intelligence in many countries and many sectors, it's still difficult, it's still challenging, and it's still expensive. But as we expand and as it becomes to the hands of many organizations, it will be probably wider spread, and it will take many jobs away, especially the routine jobs, especially the clerical jobs, you know, the people who write the press, the lawyers,
yes,
the people working in the call centers, you know, the people who are working cashiers. Don't forget, in this world, we have probably, depending on the locations, but we have 60 to 70% of the jobs are routine jobs. They are not professional jobs. You know, you don't have in countries 70% doctors or scientists. They may be the minority, but the challenge is to the people who are doing routine jobs. They're already underpaid, and this will also make it more difficult for them. So the future has to be more probably driven through AI and its capability by the people or the newer generation, rather than relying on any standard jobs, because even those jobs will not be around.
So do you think we need to realize that the AI is here to stay, or is just a hype, is some momentum thing?
Many people try to ease the pain and they say, okay, look, in the past, you know, the accountants were writing their calculations on a piece of paper, and Excel came, Microsoft Excel, and it didn't take the jobs away. And after that, maybe the Oracle system came and doing or SAP, whatever, doing the back-end jobs. So this is another hype, and still it will not take the job. Well, I'm saying, no, that's not true. Any other technologies in the past that started what we call Industrial Revolution 1 and 2 and 3, starting from 50s and 60s onwards, the human was always in control of technology. So you get all the data and you get all the analytics and you make the decision. But this is a different story. Now, the machine is making decisions, it's predicting and taking actions, and it's generating information that you were doing it. So some of us are not needed anymore to do those jobs. And this is there, as you rightly said, to stay. Not only to stay, but to even, depending which side you are, to get worse or better. I mean, it will be expanding more and more. So you have to join it now rather than you have to follow it in a few years anyway, without a choice.
Just as a last question, Dr. Jassim, what are the advice you leave for these leaders all over the world, to so many different countries, regarding to this point that AI is actually changing the paradigms all over the world? And which kind of world can we expect in the next 5 to 10 years from now, looking to the fact that AI is actually evolving?
Well, there are many countries looking at how to control AI, how to put the governance around it, how to put the ethical values, how to control it. And the policies will not control AI, because it's moving much faster than the policies are put in place. I think even the policies and the governance around AI in future will be done by AI, not by the human. So it will govern itself. So I think that the way it should be looked at, how countries can interact with AI rather than react and try to avoid and be fearful of it.
Just to finish, there is another question, Dr. Jassim. What do you think AI cannot do in this moment? Because we've seen so many people saying that AI can do this thing, can do that thing. But what does AI can do right now?
Well, I think
if you had to look to the disadvantage of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and of course you're talking about machine, and machines is all about taking the data and algorithms and training it to react and do be faster than human being. But when it comes to the human side of us, the human side of the human, if you like, the feelings, the reaction, the passionate, the anger, the reaction, which are, of course, sometimes are advantages, sometimes disadvantages. When do we make wrong decisions? When we are tired, when we are angry, when we are biased. So all those things are not done by us. So this is the advantage. But also when we talked about the education, the children, they need each other. They need to be with each other. They need to learn from each other. And if we continue with the virtual teachers, as I said, that part of it AI cannot produce at this stage, at least. So it will be a disadvantage.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Dr. Jassim, for granting us this privilege, for being able to know a little bit more about this new era of technology and know a little bit more about the artificial intelligence. It was a pleasure to have you here. We hope to gain again this privilege in the next opportunities.
Thank you very much for hosting me. I enjoyed your company and the conversation, and I wish you and your audience successful time, and hopefully they will be probably having more questions in their mind after the sessions.
And we will forward this question when we get it from the audience.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day, Dr. Jassim. See you next time. Bye-bye. Yeah, bye. As we said before, we couldn't open the channel so you could have your question answered by Dr. Jassim, but you can keep sending us those questions and we'll just forward them to Dr. Jassim, and as soon as we get the answers, we will reply to your questions so you can get clarified about the doubts you might have about these new technologies, about AI, about the impact of ChatGPT in this educational system, and so many other areas that technology have been impacting. So it was a pleasure to have you there, and just keep tuned to the next opportunity. We'll be chatting about the different topics from Golden Mind Session. See you in the next opportunities.